Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
Now,
Yeah, we might could use it since we're kind of on a little delay.
using it. Use it.
Go for it, Mark. I think you've got the biggest delay, Mark. So yeah, that would probably help.
Yeah. All right. So getting started. Welcome to episode 25.7 on the season. Guys, I just want to say again, Seth can give us some insight on Spotify and Apple Play, how much we're gaining traction there. But if you'll hit subscribe on YouTube, man, we really appreciate it. I can't believe how many views we're getting, how many subscriptions we're getting. If you'd have told me last year in August when we couldn't even get the podcast edited before the game that week that we would be at this point, I'd tell you you're out of your mind. So appreciate everybody that listens. I'm Matt Fomer. I was a high school coach for 10 years before I got into the insurance game. And I'm just going to tell you, this was kind of a weird game to me. I'll let Seth and Mark talk and introduce themselves and kind of talk about it as well. But it was a little weird to me because if you told somebody, hey, man, we rushed for over 200 yards and passed for over 200 yards, you'd have thought we should have scored 30 points and won the game easily. But on the flip of the coin, if I told you, hey, man, they sacked us 4 times, and we had over 100 yards in penalties, and we lost the turnover battle, you'd have said, man, there's no way you're going to win that game. So there's keys to the game that could have gone, made you think you were going to lose it, made you think you were going to win it. The good news is we did win it. It's always better to correct mistakes after a win. So I know, people are going to complain, oh, you only beat them 16-10, whatever. If you watch the game, I think you could easily walk away knowing we dominated that game from start to finish. We just shot ourselves in the foot some. So it was a little weird game, but Mark, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell me what you thought about the game. Just short little introduction
I coached
there.
high school football for 20 years. Was lucky to be part of, like I say it every time, I was lucky to be part of a lot of championships. I coached defense, so everybody was like, oh my gosh, we beat Auburn, but I'm like, hey, this was a great game. I loved it. I'm not sure why anybody would say any different. Winning is hard. You have to win, and you win all 3 phases. The scoreboard sometimes it's not as pretty. I remember I won a state championship and we won 13-12. And the offensive guys, they got down inside the 5 like 5 times and didn't score. But we just pitched a shutout almost completely on defense. Ended up stopping a 2-point play at the very end of the game. This was right before overtime was inserted, so that they chose to try to go. And we wanted the score on the ring, and the offensive coaches didn't want the score on the ring. They're like, no, 13-12. I'm like, hey, I want it on the ring, man. We owned those guys, and their quarterback went to play for that little community college that wears orange down there in Central Texas. And so it was a great game. I think it was a big, big, big step for the defense. And here's the deal. You can be mad at Klein for this call or that call, but you don't really know what happens. That last interception with Bussy, I talked to Seth about this. Bussy runs it as kind of a short tunnel. He comes to Marcel and it's high. What if the call was just a true stop where he's just supposed to turn around and catch it? I don't know that. You don't know that. It doesn't look like that's what it should have been, but you just don't know all the details of that play. So, they probably had 9, 10 in the box or whatever. I know the linebacker was getting out late in that. And look, it is what it is, but we won, and the defense was hey, yeah. So I think the only complaint you could have, will be penalties, but the defense was amazing. Not just in the score, but in the way that they played. They looked like 11 guys on the same page getting a call, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I think I watched the film about 5 times.
Well, and like I said, even on that one play, the pick, I try to find the positive. Here's the positive I take out of it. Your stud receiver, the one that everybody's raving about, the one that everybody's talking about, wasn't getting that ball on that play, but who tracked down that guy and kept him from it being a pick 6? Craver.
Yeah.
Craver busted
That
his
was good to
tail and
see.
ran, 70,
Yeah.
80 yards, whatever it was. I'm going to take that as a positive. So, Seth, tell us about yourself and what you thought.
I'm former high school football coach as well, 16 years at various middle of the road Mississippi State style programs. Anyway, so yeah, I'll just go right into it, talking off of what y'all said. But the phenomenal win, and I hate these comparisons, but I think it's an apt one in this moment. There's too many parallels not to bring it up. And I'm not saying we are a 12-0 team or anything like that. There's so much season left, and there's more parity in the SEC than there probably ever has been, in my opinion. But there was a team that played Auburn at home that was really good, outgained them 508 to 287. All right. Had 30 first downs to Auburn's 16 and won the game 23-20 with Auburn trying to kick an onside kick to win in late in the game. And that was 2019 LSU. Okay. So like, I'm not saying, people say, well, margin got to cover, great teams cover, blah, blah, blah. Does not matter how that 2019 LSU is maybe the most dominant college football team I've ever watched in my lifetime. And even they had one game where it almost got them. You know what I mean? Like they almost didn't pull it off, even though they just completely destroyed them on all the metrics. And so you got to win games like that. And I talk so much football to so many different people. I forget if I've said this on the podcast or said it somewhere else, but I've said I've been wanting a game where the defense gets to hang their hat as winning the game for us. We haven't had many of those in the last 7 or 8 A&M football games we've watched going back to last year. And that is so awesome to see. It's so awesome to see that this ended on a defensive sack, not us getting the first down. I know getting the first down on that last series would have been better and less stressful, but having the defense come through and play, I mean, that's going to pay dividends for a team that is, and I think we're seeing it. I hate to get too far into the X and O's, but like we've talked about this, I think last year at the end of the year, I know Mark and I've talked about this, Matt and I've talked about this, that while that defensive line we had last year was very talented individual parts, I think we're starting to see what we've talked about, that the sum of these parts is going to be greater because they're doing their job. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like they are doing their job. Guys like DJ Hicks, who has just stayed the course and kept grinding, and now he's playing like we always thought. Like that's really good to see. That's good to see. We're seeing development. We're seeing
That's
it
right.
week to week
That's
on just about every position. And man, that is something we're not seeing across college football. I think development has dropped off across college football. So programs that are actually developing right now, that's a great separator in my opinion. And boy, I'm fired up about that.
Yeah.
Got off the beaten path a little bit.
I mean, there's a million things. We could talk about the fact that how nice is it to be able to win games different ways. You don't have to go, man, if we don't throw for 200 yards this game, we're not going to be able to pull it out. Or if we don't do this, or if we've shown we can win multiple ways, and so that's great. But getting into the good, the bad, and the ugly on the offense, and I know people want to gripe about the offense, but man, the offense was pretty stinking good on Saturday if you take away the flags, and we'll talk about the penalties and the flags and that sort of thing, but you talk about wanting to have a balanced offense. And when I was at Carthage, and Mark can tell you this from his time as a defensive coach at Carthage, the greatest thing about that, everybody talks about how Scott wants to sling the ball around, and he does. But what made us so difficult to defend was, okay, you want to stack the box? We'll throw it. Okay, you want to go to a too high safety look? All right, we're going to run it down your throat. And being able to do both and being efficient with it and being productive with it is amazing. So I don't know how much more balanced you can be when you have 270 yards passing and 270 yards rushing. And so the other thing we talked about, and I admittedly said it on the podcast, I thought we'd have trouble running the ball against these guys because their interior D-line is really good. Well, the first 4 games Auburn played, they gave up 233 yards on the ground. They gave up 207 yards against us. So we showed the first 3 games we can sling it. Now we've shown, guess what? You want to go to a light box? We can run it down your throat still too. So having that balanced attack, that was really, really impressive. And then the other thing I want to rave on, and it's kind of a difficult thing to rave on because our field goal kicker let us down both times, but our situational knowledge of football is really impressive. You look at the Notre Dame game when they had the faulty snap, we picked it up, we hand it off to Moss, he gets 11 yards and puts us in field goal range with like 2 seconds to go. Now we missed the field goal, but that's just smart football. Elko took advantage of a situation, tried to get us 3 points right before half. Same thing. We get the ball back with, I think it was like 38 seconds to go. We complete a few passes, get down there, get in field goal range. Unfortunately, we missed the field goal again, but that's 2 times when Elko and this offense and Klein have been put in situations with very limited time before half and been able to get us in field goal range to try to put points on the board. So I love that knowledge and that situational attacking type of mindset there. So Seth, what did you see on the offense that you liked?
In the run game. I'm a run game guy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like a balanced attack too, but I like watching run game on film just as much as anything that's executed pot. And so, man, we put on some clinic film on defense and in the offensive run game. I was trying to find something to be like, well, we missed here, and the only thing I could find was a very minor miss that where we ran the pin and pull and Basantis pulls and the linebacker, a blitzing linebacker crosses his face, but he kind of got locked onto the second level linebacker. And the reason I bring that up is because we were handing the ball to Morrow right there, backed up. And if Basantis kicks out that blitzing, the Sam that was blitzing into the play, the run blitz, the wheel linebacker had overscraped. We were going to have Morrow trying to get tackled by a corner or safety once he gets to second. I mean, it was a third level player. That's all it was left because the linebacker had overscraped. And so, man, I wish we would have that one more play had executed properly because I like to see Morrow in that space. Yeah.
No doubt. And Seth, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Coach Brown, how demoralizing is it as a defensive staff and defensive players when you know you can't stop their run game? I mean, to me, as an offense, there's nothing more fulfilling than I know I'm running it, you know I'm running it, and we know you can't stop it, and you know you can't stop it.
It's unbelievable, like how much it demoralizes you, the players. I just remember a time we went and played Kilgore, and they were really good, and they run a ton of power back in the day with Valerie. They just run power at you, and they're running power to the right every play, and they're gashing us for 7 and 8 and late in the game, and they're just running the clock out, and we're doing everything we can. And the fans, at Kilgore, they're like in lawn chairs right behind you, basically. They feel like they're on the sideline, and they're yelling, "Coach, they're running the same play," and we're just like, we know, and we're doing everything we can to put guys in that spot, and we still can't stop them. And so it is very, very demoralizing when people line up and shove it down your throat. And there's nothing you can call a run blitz and you can put more people there, but if they're blocking it well and they're gashing you, it's hard to overcome.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Seth, but I just wanted to get that insight from that side.
For sure. Yeah, we had 32 yards that were taken away from holds too. So, that total could have been higher. And we'll talk more about that in the ugly session. But also the other thing, I mean, we've seen it over and over again, but I'm ready to go ahead and use this term. I don't use it lightly, but when it comes to a rhythm throw in the 10 to 20 yard window, Marcel Reed is elite. He is.
Yes.
That is a guy that is. And if you watch, so some guy, I mean, if y'all watch the game or y'all go back and rewatch, Woodlands Aggie puts a good no huddle on YouTube or whatever. If you go back and watch a quarterback's eyes, if you're ever just wanting, and you can tell a lot about a quarterback's eyes, about how well they are being coached, how well they understand things. His eyes are there, man. His eyes are there. There's a couple of times where the eyes are there, but the body, the release is quite not yet. That's the only thing that's the only gripe I have. But man, when he hits a rhythm throw into the window on that back foot and lets it rip, I don't know if I've seen anybody better. Because I mean, we went and watched Mississippi State and Tennessee, and like watching how that ball comes out of Aguilar's hands at Tennessee, like I don't know, he might be injured or something, but his one ball is not Marcel Reed's one ball is elite, and his window throws are elite. Like that, talk about that situational football. Maybe one of the best throws I've ever seen him make was the out route to Bullkircher that got us first down in that pre-halftime getting in the field goal range. He threw that. It was 2 feet out of bounds. Like it was like perfect where Bullkircher can catch it right going out of bounds. There's no defending it almost unless you've got a outside leverage, hook guy out there. So anyway, it was he's elite in throwing the ball. Go ahead, Matt, to the windows.
Yeah, and I was just going to say we talked about it, and before we started recording, how you see progression and improvement in all these players, and that's something we talked about after early in the game. the receivers and the quarterback being on the same page when they do drop into zone, if we're running a dig or we're running this or we're running that, understanding setting down in those windows and giving your quarterback an opportunity and everybody being on the same page. And man, I think we're seeing a lot more zone than I thought we would see.
Sure.
But it's because our receivers have been so
That's right.
good.
Yeah.
And so now it's awesome to see those receivers and that quarterback. Okay, you want to play zone? We can play zone too. We can eat you up that way too. So it's exciting to see.
I did a, people talk about adjusted rates and stuff. And if everything had gone the way it could have, like Marcel would have had we had 3 drops in that game. And I'm counting the Bussy screen because he would tell you it's a drop, even though the ball was a little high, he would tell you that's a drop. If you take away, if those 3 are not drops, he's 19 to 23. If Craver catches the screen, I'm going to talk about later, and runs where he should, that's a touchdown. If ARA doesn't walk down the field 5 yards and realizes he is, tries to get back, but it's too late, that's another touchdown. So my adjusted Marcel stats would have been 19 to 23 with 2 touchdowns. I mean, insane. How good he really threw the ball outside of that one deep ball overthrow. That's really the only thing. So man, he's been, when he's in rhythm and he's on, and when the body catches up with the eyes are a little ahead of the body right now on the progression. When that catches up, watch out, man. Watch out. That's going to be something.
I agree.
I agree. Tight ends. Lastly but not least, I got to give tight end, like we talked about them, but the man, they like Thor is so much better. I don't have the clip. He picked up, when we're talking about Auburn's front four is maybe the best we'll see all year, in my opinion. I don't know. Like, I don't know if we'll see a front four as good as that. And last year, I remember on one of the 4th down stuffs against Texas, we were running the ball away from Thor, and he needed to reach the backside end, and the backside end just crossed his face and tackled us for a loss. And in one of the runs we had on another short yardage, he reached him, and it was one of those Auburn dudes. And he got him pinned up into the outside, and he did not make the play, and we got the first down. And I was like, man, that is so cool to see that just 9 or 10 months ago, he didn't make that. He didn't execute that block, and now he is. Boer Kircher, he kind of disappears on film because he just doesn't make many mistakes. He doesn't flash off film because he's not the greatest athlete ever. Obviously, he makes the big but I mean it from a down-to-down basis. Like, he just gets the job done. Micah Riley, he's not a guy we hear very often because he's kind of the second blocking tight end. He hammered a guy, put him out of the game for a play or two. He is a hammer. This guy, he likes contact. So if you ever see 88 in the game, more than likely it's a run. More than likely he's about to hammer somebody. It's fun to watch him, especially when he comes across the formation on zone to slice block. Holy cow! And then Black's athleticism again. My gosh, he just jumps off the screen.
That third down catch he made, he knew he was going to get hammered. He got hammered, stayed on his feet, and got another 10 yards afterwards. And I was on TexAgs, I think it was Sunday, and somebody had posted something about where are the tight ends. I'm like, what do you mean, where are the tight ends? We got tight ends on the field 99.9% of the time. Now, they haven't caught 20 touchdown passes, and they haven't had, which you got KC and you got Craver. I love tight ends catching the ball too, but if I'm Reed, I'm looking at those 2 options first.
Yeah.
So they're catching it and doing what we need to when we need them to catch it. You don't see a lot of drops, passes from the tight ends, but dude, their progression and blocking and what they've been able to do is awesome to watch. So
net positive all the way around.
Absolutely. So, all right, well, we're gonna go on to the bad. I'm gonna try to keep it short because, like I said, other than the flags, I really think our offense did well.
Yeah.
So the one negative, or one of the negatives, the bad for me is we gave up 4 sacks. Some of that is, in my opinion, some of that is Reed holding on to the ball a little bit too long this game. And look, we talked about it before, I don't necessarily want him running the ball 15 times a game. Okay. But he's an athlete. If he goes through his progressions, there's nobody there. He needs to tuck and go. And I think in fact, in the post-game press conference, he even admitted that. He was like, man, three or four of those, or 3 of those, probably all 4 of those, I could have tucked it and got us positive yards. I should have. So I'd anticipate that you seeing that more this weekend. But I'm not overly concerned about that because the previous 3 games combined, we'd only given up 2 sacks. So I don't think that's like something we need to super. And then while me and Mark may disagree on this, I'm going to say I would like to see Owens and Daniels carries flipped. I would like to see Owens getting more. And Daniel's getting a few less. Seth's going to talk about it in a minute. I know Owens missed a pass pro that probably got him those snaps taken away from him. But man, that guy, if you can get the ball in his hands, he's averaging over 7 yards a carry right now when the ball's in his hands. So he's got to figure out this pass pro so he can do what I think he can do for this offense. So, Seth, what you got on the bad?
That's a good, and that's where like we talked about this, but I think you guys, if you watch enough right now, like I mean, while our offense ended up balanced yardage wise, did we run the ball like 2 to 3, two
Two
out
to
of three or
one.
something? Yeah, 2 to 1.
Yeah, it was 2 to
So
1. Yeah.
we are in a box counting offense, which is really, I mean, you talk about, people say I've heard a graph about Klein last year as he ran into 8-man boxes all the time and stuff. I'm like, hey,
If you
if you're
had
going to
those
graph about
receivers,
running,
you would have to.
yeah, right, exactly. This is where we are now. You know what? He's decided we're going to take what the defense gives us. And Durkin was saying, run the ball against me by how he played way more coverage and way less that box heavy than he did anybody else. And Durkin's a really good defensive coordinator. I know there's a lot of opinions about Durkin, but you watch this defense against us, and I know we put a bunch of yards up against them, but they are well coached. They are really good up front. They disguise blitzes well, and they got us a few times. Like Durkin got us a few times, and that's you got to tip your hat to a guy like that. And one of the times he got us was right here, one of the very first early third downs in the game.
Okay.
So what you got here is the first third down look where Elko shows not Elko. Durkin shows the 7-man bear front look. And who's coming? That's a tough one to block up. And what we've got is they choose to do a half slide. They slide the offensive right. They man up. And so what you see Visantis and Zune doing here is they're manning up the heavier bodies, and they're trying to leave the lighter body for the running back, 17 here. And so you may think, well, who's going to block this guy in the D gap? Well, that's on the quarterback. We got to take care of the A's, the B's, and the C's as much as possible. But once it gets outside of that, that's on the quarterback to get rid of that ball. And so Owens doesn't get the message here. And what you got is, and I'll let it play, you can see it. This happened twice. One time it was running back's fault. One time it was ARA's fault. Owens kind of gets fixated on that guy out there. And you'll see the A-gap runner 17 right there leads to the sack. So where if we got the back going into the A-gap, Marcel has a pocket to climb. And I don't have the wide view here, but we had a dig route breaking open for the first down or like a crossing route breaking open. That's his accelerator route. Like if he feels rush, has to step up, he's looking for the accelerator route. So it was game planned. It was schemed up appropriately if we just had the right pass pro. I don't have the other clip on here, but that one was Armaj Reed Adams. If you watch it on film, you can see as the guy penetrates the A-gap, he looks at him like crap. And he tries to run to his hip to run him up the field, but it was too late. And yeah, definitely with Mark, like you said, with Marcel, that's why I'm talking about that clock where his eyes see things and then his body won't trigger fast enough. And I think he's, there's some subconscious things at play here where you've heard him in the press conference, the runner tag, right? Where sometimes these guys get a little too fixated on him. No, I'm not a runner. And like, hey, look, your threat of run can help you with the passing game, right? Like
Absolutely.
If you threaten the line of scrimmage and you bring those zone defenders up, now you've just opened these windows for us to operate. And so,
if you do it enough to where, which a lot of them do, keep a spy in on you, well, that's one less guy that's going to be in coverage. So,
that's right.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so we'll move on to the ugly. I think we all agreed that penalties is the ugly. Now, I will tell you, I don't think this was a great officiated game, and I heard a guy talking about it the other day, and it made a lot of sense. So the SEC has a set number of crews, and you're going to send what you think is your best crew to the biggest game. Well, the biggest game this weekend was Alabama, Georgia. So we were not going to get the best crew. I also think, and Seth will go into it a little bit more here in a minute, I also think that the way that Auburn got hosed against OU subconsciously, I think those officials had that in their head, and they're going to throw a flag on anything they want to deem. But here's the deal. Outside of this one game, we're still averaging 75 yards of penalties a game. We have got to get that cleaned up. So I know that Elko's making it a point of emphasis, but long term, you can't keep doing that. Expecting, we've got LSU in Baton Rouge, we've got Missouri on the road, we got to go to Austin. Like you can't help these teams any more than they already have. So we got to clean that up. But Seth, tell us your ugly, boss.
Yeah, that's a couple of things. We missed a touchdown with Craver, and I'll show that play in just a minute. But I'm getting crossed up here thinking about that. But the 4 holding calls, like you mentioned, I don't, people have talked to me, there's a conspiracy and all. There's not a conspiracy. It's human nature to try to justify wrong and when in the inside of the gray area of the human element. And so like the 4 holding calls, I'll tell you, these are facts about the 4 holding calls. Facts. All 4 happened on runs. All 4 happened running towards the Auburn bench. Uh, now some of these were, I mean, I'd say one and a half of them are legit. One of them, but the one that burns me the most is the very first one that was called on Nebu, because these guys they put on a clinic on zone blocking combos. They ran zone left into a slant a slant away, and the combos that they pulled off up to the backer, clinic film. And so I got a clip here of it, and because I do want to show that 2 things. This is an unbelievable job by Nebu, who's comboing up to this backer. And this is worth repeating that this also in the game erased a 19-yard run here that would have had us 1st and 10 on the 40. I think this is the 3rd drive of the game, if I remember properly. This is when things were trying to break loose, right? This is when things were trying to break loose. And this put us back 2nd and I believe 14 from our own 14 or 16 or something like that. This was a 25-yard flip in field position. And so it was a big one. And once again, it happened. The flag got thrown about the time Amari starts getting wrapped up. And what I'm going to say about this is, it is the opposing sideline's duty to scream for a hold on every explosive run that happens, right? That's their duty. Okay. You should do that. You should do that. So, but that doesn't mean that in SEC football, the flag should get thrown just because of that. You usually see something like this happen on Thursday nights in a junior high or a JV game. I've been there helping call the offense or calling the offense, and you just decide as an offensive coordinator, I'm not running to their bench anymore. Every time we've ran to their bench, there's a holding call every time. So we just ran. I mean, it looks funky as crap. You get on one hash and you just keep running into the boundary over and over and over again. And then the quarter changes, and now we're running to the left instead, down the boundary over and over and over again. And that is because you can't trust that there won't be a hold if you run towards that other sideline. And you shouldn't have to do that in the SEC. But during the game, I started laughing and going, if I'm talking with Klein, I'm like, hey, this is like a junior high football game. We got to run to our bench every time. Okay, we can't run it up top anymore. We can't run it towards the Auburn sideline. So anyway, that's just crazy to me. The other ugly was the Basantis personal foul. I went back and watched it. That was a straight up lapse of emotion for him. He kind of swiped down on the umpire's arm when the umpire was trying to talk to him and an Auburn player. I mean, it wasn't egregious. It wasn't like a big push, or it wasn't like he almost knocked him down. He just swiped his arm away. That's going to get called every time. You can't, you can't do that. So that was the ugly. I don't blame the offensive line, for the holding calls. I mean, let us put it this way. The ugly on the holding calls was on the refereeing crew. The ugly on was on Basantis for that personal foul. And then I'm going to sneak in here one more time that the special teams, man. I don't know what's up with Tyler White. He looks like he might be hurt. I don't know. We have Bond, and I mean, those were long field goals, but if you just make one of those, it's a completely different dynamic late in the game. You don't have to make all of them, but got to make us one of those every now and then. So, yeah, I mean, there's some ugly that we're still overcoming, and that's what's crazy about how the ceiling of this team, is pretty high, considering how much we're still kind of dealing with some little things here and there.
And that's
like
what
special
Elko
teams
said
stuff.
in his post game press conference. He said, "Man, if we can." This team can be really, really good, and I think that's what he's saying about the ceiling. I think he agrees. If we can clean up the penalties a little bit and do a few little things, like this could be a scary good year for them. So,
This
Mark,
is the Craver screen. This is the Craver screen.
sorry.
I just wanted to show you real quick. Yeah, it's okay. I'll let it run one time, and then we're going to go to a diagram where it'll really show you. So this is the design screen to hit back inside a little bit. And so this is pause right when Craver's catching it, and you can see I got it drawn. That's how that should hit. The old saying we used to teach ball carriers, especially running backs. I coached running backs for several years in the wing T, which means there's 3 of them. So you run 2 butts, run 2 butts, run 2 butts. And so we got a butt pointing him back inside. This is about to be a butt point back inside. We got one guy who's about to try to make this tackle over here, and he ain't catching Craver. You know what I mean? So Craver is going to see this film. Wiggins is going to show it to him. He's going to be so mad at himself. But I guarantee he probably won't make this mistake again when this type of screen is called. So that was one of those touchdowns that we took off the board. Not necessarily the refs or Auburn. We took this touchdown off the board. Once again, just so much ceiling. The ceiling is so high. And so
Obviously the good and everybody, the media and fans, they get focused on one thing, and so York gets a lot of credit for this game. But I told you don't give up on him after the Notre Dame game. I'm like, just don't. This kid is cerebral. He is coachable. He's going to come back and he's going to clean things up and he's going to progress as the season goes on. He did it last year, and I feel like he's going to do it this year. And he had just a phenomenal game. And not just in tackles and tackles for loss and sacks. His ability to check some things. There's a play where they have something called. You can tell they have something called. They're starting to creep into it, and Auburn checks out of it, moves the H back over to the opposite side of the center, and immediately, without looking at the sideline, York recognizes it, changes the play, communicates it, and we sack the quarterback. It was like he knew, okay, if they move the H back over there, here's what the protection is going to be, and our blitz that we got called is not good. I'm going to change it right here on the fly, not looking at the sideline. That dude is a difference maker. When you got a guy on the field that can do that it's just like a quarterback. He is the quarterback of this defense, and he played great. He was where he was supposed to be. He got off blocks. I kind of knew that he would. Because I told you with Notre Dame, their guys would come to second level and stick on you. And when you're in the SEC, it's your job to get off. But I told you Auburn's not good at that. They bump you and you can get around them. We saw it with the OU linebackers, and York did the same thing. Had a great game. The defense as a whole had 6 3-and-outs plus 2 turnovers on downs. If you tell a defense before the game you're going to have 6 3-and-outs and you're going to have 2 turnovers on downs, so that's 8 times that you made the stop in a game with any kind of good offense, you're going to win. You would think you would win even bigger than this, but if you put that on a goal every week, hey, we want 6 3-and-outs. That's a lofty goal, number one, because you just need to get them off the field. If it's 6 and out, it's still a stop, but 6 3-and-outs is amazing. The other thing is when you pull the film up and you start watching it, we look so well coached. And you mentioned this, I think Matt or Seth, about there's a fall off in college football with teams that look well coached. There's a big fall off in high school right now with people getting out. I don't know why coaches get out of it, but I'm part of it. But you can just see that teams don't look as well coached. I think part of that is NIL. The focus is how much money you make, your draft prospects, getting
I don't know why.
11, 12, 15 guys to buy into a scheme, do their job, not worry about, I'm a backside linebacker and they're running zone away, but I know to, hold, fold, as we used to teach it, hold for that backside cutback and then fold in where you're supposed to, getting kids to buy into that, because everything's saying go over there. But this team looks so well coached. They're starting to look like a team that understands what they're doing. I think we kept the game plan simple. Yes, we had about 4 blitzes that we brought that were exotic blitzes. We disguised them well and we ran them well, and we haven't been doing that. We've had some busts, just like one guy bust, and it hurts us. But they're starting to understand it. They show they know the scheme. And I think that as they watch this film, they're going to be very proud, but there's going to be some things that they say, well, I could do this better. Like even on the last 4th down, there's the safety is just like, look, dude, you got 3 over there and you're still in the middle of the field when the sack occurs. You probably need to be leaning on the hash. But just watching some of the blitzes that Elko's put in and how much they know what Auburn's about to do, and they beat them to the punch. And so if you pull up that clip, Seth, of the last 4th down, just the first screenshot that I put in there, I'll show you pre-snap what we're looking at. And it's so funny because even when they ran it live, I went, oh, as soon as they snapped the ball, I knew what their protection was. And then I saw our blitz and I was like, oh my God, it's like they knew. Let's just look at this. So right here, we have a shade and we have a 4-eye, and we have a guy walked up outside. Sanford's back in normal stuff. York is mugged in the B gap. Our defensive end is actually in a wide 9, even though he's kind of outside the tight end. You can tell where his eyes are pointed, and we have a guy coming off the edge. So this is the 4th down, end of the game. We did this so many times I could pull up 5 or 6 clips. The second one is this. If you notice, our defensive end on the backside is gone. That's Cassius. He has dropped into coverage. York has actually dropped, and we brought Sanford from depth. So they actually kind of have us matched up with their turn protection, which is what you called earlier with we did 3-2. You identify the mic and you turn the center away from the mic. They actually were turning 4, which gets their guard in a bind because of where Sanford comes, because they labeled York as the mic and turned the protection to him, and they kind of put themselves in a bind. And then our tackle is on the back, which is a bad plan. But
yeah, I was wondering what
65
old 65 was.
Cassius was out there. It looks like he's coming, but he drops. So if you play the clip, the quarterback's eyes are going to go directly. They're going to run a stop up top. The corner's going to take the deep, and they're going to bracket underneath with Cassius, and that's what he was wanting to throw. He looked at it, and it's not there. Remember, I told you last week, this quarterback, when he drops out, if it's cloudy at all, he doesn't know what to do. An NFL quarterback makes that throw right as the guy turns around, and it's still probably a completion unless the defensive end right there makes an unbelievable play, tips it or picks it. He's got to make that throw. That's the call. You got to make it. It's bracket, so you got a soft corner. So the rules are I'm running a 5-yard or 3-yard stop, and the corner is soft. I got to throw it. But he doesn't because it's cloudy. We know exactly what's happening. We abuse them. We abuse the back. We get through the back. The other guy totally misses the block right there on the note or on the tackle, and we get 3 guys free. And it's just a beautiful job of coverage. The only thing I would have done differently is this safety up top. He's got to get more to this hash because he's got to go with number 2, but they don't have time to throw it. So
Yeah.
I
we
got a
did this
clip I
all.
want you to
We did it all day,
raise my hand.
and it's a beautiful thing.
Hey, Mark, I got a clip I want you to talk about too, and my favorite defensive clip. I know it's but this was on 3rd and 10 on the next to last drive. It wasn't the last drive; it was the next to last drive. 3rd and 10, big down, and it's going to run back a few times. But what I love about this is how Brooks rolls up, but ends up in coverage. York comes from depth, and then watch what Sanford does. Runs right to the hot route. Tell me that wasn't a tell. Tell me they hadn't seen that on film. You know what I mean?
So Seth, one of the things that you notice when you watch film is they ran a lot of this turn protection. And so again, turn protection is like this. The center comes up and he identifies the mic, and he can identify either one, but whatever he identifies as the mic, they turn the protection away and let those 2 guys, or in this case, a really bad scheme with Auburn, they would let the tackle and the back take those 2, and those 4 would take anything to their side. And the problem with that is on defense, the hot route's on the other side. And now if they turn the protection to away from the guy that's coming, that's good for you, but they can throw the hot because now the backside linebacker who is being called the wheel and by the protection has to get all the way over. And his ability to understand that, hey, he knew at the snap which way they would turn the protection. So Auburn gave it away somehow. And when you know things like that, and you know, okay, hey, they're turning the protection to York, they're turning it to me. They're going to let York go one-on-one. I've got to get to the hot route, and the hot route's going to be on the other side. And he runs right to it. It's cerebral stuff like that. It's pre-snap stuff. It's how well did you watch film? How well do you know what they're doing in the game? And our defense is starting to do that, and that's always been one of Elko's strengths, is his defenses could do that. They could run the exotic blitz, and the guy that's being exposed can get to where he's supposed to be to make a play. And we did it all game. It's a clinic tape. Elko can go around the country and use this tape.
Here's what's exciting, and I don't want to talk on defense too much, but our cornerbacks are unbelievable, both of them. And
Yeah, they are.
if you go back and watch our podcast from last year, I think we all had big concerns about our boy Sanford. And that kid has come in.
Yeah.
He has come in, and it's like I think I don't remember if I was talking to Mark or Seth. You don't hear his name in the broadcast unless he's making a play, which tells you he's doing his job. He's doing his job. And so that kid, like, he needs major kudos for his elevation of play and the ability to come in a critical time at Notre Dame and play so well against Auburn. I mean, that kid's done really, really well. So did you have any bad or ugly that you wanted to talk about at all, Mark?
Yeah. I here's what I used my bad on since they were so good, just to temper everybody as to where we're at in the season. And I knew it last week when I watched the film. Auburn's offense is bad. They're just bad. They
They are.
don't do things well. I get
No.
what their scheme is and all that. The Texas Tech runs this scheme and they run it well. They don't run it well, and their quarterback has major issues with his ability. All we had to do was get heat on him early. He was already a guy that holds the ball too much. So, 50% of what we did was the way we play defense. 25% was the scheme. The Auburn scheme is very simple. Sanford knew he's got a run gap he's got to deliver on, and if he sees pass, he's got to get to the hot on the backside, and he does it like that, and that just that's their scheme is simple. Their quarterback play was about 25%. He's just not very good. If he'd have been really, really good at getting the ball out and seeing what he has, soft corner, get it out, stuff like that, it might not be as clean. They might have extended some drives. We were always in the right place where we needed to be. So, our bad is the Auburn's offense had some ineptitude. We did what we were supposed to do with that. If they're a bad offense, they got some talented guys, but together they're just not working as a unit well, and we exposed them, and that's what you're supposed to do. And I didn't really have an ugly. I would say
No.
this. I was a little worried with the way the flags were coming out. There were a couple of times where our corner, I think maybe Will Lee or Ricks, makes a great play on a deep ball, and then he's pointing at the guy, and they did not call
Be careful.
I coach corners, and corners are a lot like receivers. They are highly
They just can't
competitive
catch.
and highly noisy.
Yes.
They're highly competitive and highly noisy. And what I always told
Yeah.
corners in those situations is, I'm not going to tell you to stop talking trash. Just don't do it. Communication is like 50%.
Straight there. Yeah. Yeah.
Visual.
Yeah.
Don't be visual. Keep your head down, get back to the huddle, and while you're going back to the huddle, say everything you want to say about the guy's mama. I don't care. I don't care. But it
That's
doesn't
right.
look like, if I'm watching film, I don't need to know you're singing it, right?
That's
If
exactly
you're
right.
on my sideline, that's fine. But put your head down, go back to the huddle, and then tell that guy everything you just did to him, and how he's never going to catch a ball again against him, and all of that stuff. Just do it non-verbal or non-visually, because referees see that, and referees are, man, they're highly emotional.
It's low-hanging fruit.
I don't know how they're not
low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
They're the most emotional people I've ever met. They're emotional, unstable. You can't get onto, you got to be careful with how you get onto them. And I think that's why coaches get onto them, because they know that the more they get onto them, the more it might, I better throw this call because he's been on my butt for 40 minutes about that. And that looks close. So I'll throw the flag. And they tell you that they don't do that, but they do.
They do.
So no real ugly. I'm really excited about where this offense came from. The defense came from Notre Dame to here. Yes, the opponent was way worse, but we were where we're supposed to be 90% of the time. It's clinic tape. He can teach how he runs this defense to any high school staff just off this tape. It's really good tape, and it shows a lot about the kids, their buy-in. Jackie Sherrill, when he was on our show, talked about when he would go watch practice in the fall camp, how much farther ahead our offense was than our defense. And so that part of that is our offense is super talented. And the second part is, when that's the case, when you're kind of out talented, you better be where you're supposed to be, and you better tackle well. And they were where they were supposed to be, and they tackled well. And so it's good stuff. I'm excited about where they are. This is a good challenge for us this week.
Well, it's funny you bring up Coach Sherrill. I texted him on Sunday and I said, "Looks like that defense is catching up, Coach." He said, "It sure does." So you're right.
I would like to point out too. We talk about Dez and Will, but Tyreek Chappelle at the nickel had a
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah.
I mean, he's been so good, and
And
I mean that's 3 corners on. He would start at corner for most places. Like he's
Yes.
playing nickel for us, and like so I got to shout out Coach Peterson, man. I mean, like what a run this guy's had. He's taken Des
My
Ricks,
goodness. Yeah.
who was maybe one of the worst great. I mean, he was bad last year. Just be honest, and he would tell you that too. And he's turned him into one of the best corners in the country. And Will Lee is as steady as it can be, and that it's easy for those like corners are like bullpen guys. They can lose it all of a sudden. You know, like you talked about, Mark, how competitive and volatile the receiver in the corner room is. Like they can lose it all of a sudden. And Will Lee had a little bit of a rough game against Utah State, and Peterson was able to reel him back in. And then you got Chappelle, and then he locked down Arrington. Like Arrington coming out saying, "I'm not even going any." I mean, like this guy's had a heater. Coach Peterson's on a
Yeah, he
heater right
has.
now.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the man's working for a raise or something.
Yeah.
Seth, you mentioned Chappelle, and I want to just say that one of the things Elko said in one of his press conferences, it may have been the one just the other day, is when you can cover a slot receiver, your ability to call a defense for him and the
Yes.
exotics that he brings, the ability to cover the slot in those situations, which is your hot route a lot of times, changes what you can call. And I was a Tampa 2 guy for a long time, and the two stell points were you had to have a 3 technique that could demand a double team every play, and you had to have a Mike that could stop the run and run the middle of the field and drop off the number 3 receiver. And for Elko, it's can we cover the slot when we bring this stuff? And Chappelle's doing a great job there.
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's
he
good
is.
stuff.
All right, so we're moving on to Mississippi State. They run the vaunted 3-3-5, Mark. They run that 3-3-5. So, but here's what was ironic when I pulled up their roster and looked at who's getting snaps. So there was 20 players on Mississippi State's defense that got at least 15 snaps last game. Out of those 20 players, 11 of them were transfers. 11, so over 50%. Now, everybody's getting in the transfer portal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we love our 2 receivers. But if you look at our offense, out of there was 15 players on our offense that got 15 snaps or more last game. Only 3 of them were transfers. So not saying every school's going to get in the transfer portal. You got a kid that can, well, except for Clemson, but we see how that's working. Every school's going to do it. But the difference in we're picking a few pieces to fill a few little holes. For Mississippi State, they're trying to fill everything. So that was something I saw that was pretty interesting. Starting out with their D-line, out of their 3 starters, 2 of them are transfers. One of them came from North Carolina. The other one came from that community college in Austin via Marlin, Texas. Nobody on that line looks special to me. None of them look like what we just faced in the interior line against Auburn. They're just cloggers. They want those guys to eat up blocks is all they want them to do. They're linebackers. Out of the 3 linebackers, one of them's a transfer we will be familiar with, Malik Silla, who left A&M to go to Mississippi State, came from Katy, Texas. Not exactly sure he's built to be a linebacker, but they do walk him up kind of as an edge rusher when they go to that 4 down too. So nobody there honestly scares me. None of them looks like number 17 from Auburn. And I'm just going to tell you, if that kid hits the portal, I really hope we get on the phone. That was the one kid on Auburn's defense after playing against him. That kid can play, man. 17 can play. And then in the secondary, 2 of the 5 guys are transfers. Number 2 is their best player. He was second team All-SEC last year, and he actually led the team in tackles against us last year. But he got injured and left that Tennessee game in the 3rd quarter, didn't come back, had a leg injury. So I'm interested to see if he comes back or if he's available. We'll see. What I saw from watching film, if you want to pull up those first 2 clips, they like to run some interior twists. They don't really do it with the ends and tackles. They do it with the 2 interior guys. But the one thing that our O-line can be prepared for, you can see there, they send one cross face across the center and bring the other one around. But the one thing that our O-line should be able to kind of cue up on that is they only run any kind of stunts with their front when they're in a 4 down. They don't do it when they're in their standard 30-35. So here's another one they ran. You can see here again, they've got Scylla walked up on the outside, so they're in essentially a 4 down there, and sure enough, cross face, bring the other one around. So that's going to be, but you can see there every time they do it, there's nothing. I mean, they don't get any more rush really on the quarterback than they would out of their standard rush. So they do blitz a little bit, but they show it way early. If you go to that last clip, they're going to bring this mic here and or the will, and but you can see there, unlike what Mark showed where Sanford ran to pick up that hot route real quick, nobody picks up the hot route for them, and it's just a quick slant to the interior. Tennessee picks up about 20 yards on it. So, I'm not overly concerned with them. We did have some trouble with them last year. I think we were kind of all disappointed after the game at Mississippi State last year. But if you remember correctly, this game was where it became really, really difficult to defend Wigman any longer. He had 2 picks in that game. And really didn't play well. And it was Moss's worst game of the season. He only had 65 yards on 17 carries. So I'm sure that's going to be a point of emphasis in the meeting rooms. Like, hey, guys, Mississippi State kind of owned us last year on the run game, so we need to step it up. So there's plenty of ammo to keep this team going. But I'm not. This team's defense is nowhere near as good as what we just faced, and I think we should have put 30 up on Auburn if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. So, Seth, what do you see?
Same thing. Like their 3-3 stack reminds me of Utah State more than it does anybody else. It almost felt like I was watching Utah State's defense again with them being in the all white, because one of the films we watched, Utah State was in the all white. It's a 3-3 stack that's not designed to be super aggressive and attacking and stemming guys like Durkins is and trying to fool you. It's really. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State, because he knows what he's got, and it feels like his decision is, we're going to run the 3-3 stack, and we're just going to try to have a lot of bodies standing up with eyes in the backfield so we can run up and tackle people and hope they make some mistakes.
Run to the ball. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what you've seen, just to talk, go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that, my daughter goes to North Texas, and I worked for North Texas football back in the day, so I have some love. I graduated from there, all that, letter winner, all that, great. But Eric Morris, whose name is on the radar now because they're 5-0, his first defensive coordinator they brought in ran a 3-3 stack, and it just used to sicken me, because here's what people did, even when they didn't do it normally. They bring in an H-back, tight end H-back situation. So now you've got little bodies against big bodies, and people just run it down your throat with power and counter F and things like that. And that's exactly what you see from Mississippi State. The deal is they're trying to have their up front guys, the 3 that have their hand on the ground, they're asking them to 2-gap, number 1. So to 2-gap, you got to be better than the guy in front of you, because you got to play both gaps. And then they're walking guys up to be in position. And sometimes you can get them by alignment on one side with your receivers, bring an H-back across on a counter or something, and now you've got them in leverage. You just have angles on them, and I see a lot of that with Mississippi State. So it'll be fun to see some of that 12 and 13 personnel, Matt, and running some counter F with Moss.
Absolutely.
And you could see we should gash them in those situations. We're bigger than they are. We'll have angles on them. It's 3-3 stack needs to be retired. I don't know who came up with that, but they didn't coach in 1980.
Hey, it was invented. Hey, I actually have a story behind this, and I'll make it as fast as possible because it's insane. But it was a lot of people credit Joe Lee Dunn, University of New Mexico, for inventing the 3-3 stack, and he literally invented it because he was so tired of BYU throwing the ball 80% clip and beating him. That's the reason he invented it. And the guy coached for at Pine Tree named Huey Chancellor. He played at Odessa Permian back when it was Mojo, right? And his story was he was the starting quarterback from 7th grade through his sophomore year, and he was the heir apparent to be the starter his junior year. He decided out of the blue to not play football his junior year and only focus on basketball. The backup he had from 7th grade through his sophomore year was the starter his junior year and showed out. So when he came back to play his senior year, the coaches told him, his name's Huey Chancellor. He's like, Huey, you ain't playing offense. We put you on defense, though. You play safety for us. Hey, let me tell you something about Huey Chancellor. This guy's 6'5", about 245, 55-year-old man that I was lifting weights one day after practice, and I'm not strong by any means. And he came in and saw me. He goes, well, Coach Drennan, you lifting some weights today? I was like, yeah. He goes, man, I ain't lifted in a few months. You mind if I join you? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. he starts loading the bar. He's warming up, and he just keeps adding 45s. Okay, like, and he's adding so many 45s on bench press. And he goes over there and goes, "You mind spot?" And this guy has a wingspan of like his hand would wrap all the way around a Coke can, like his fingers and thumbs would touch around a Coke can. He has huge wingspan. So this is not some chest bounce, like power lift bench press. This is a long range of motion. He's got 405 on the bar, and he's like, "You want to come spot me, coach?" And I was like, "I guess I'll try," And he did 3 sets of 5. He's probably 55 years old. And
Wow.
I was like, I just wanted to quit lifting weights at that point. I was going to go back in there and watch more film. So anyway, but yeah,
Hey,
but yeah,
Hey,
go ahead.
I'm glad you brought up that point. So Eric Morris is an air raid guy, came from Leach, right?
Yeah.
Mississippi State has that Leach influence. Those are the guys that like the 3-3 stack because when you're throwing it around the yard and you're only running zone inside and outside, you can give them problems. But you can't do that against a team that's going to run 2 tight ends and an H-back, get ready to run it down your throat. You better be able to get in a 4-2-5 or something.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So to bring it back to Huey was recruited by Jolie Dunn when he was envisioning that like spur or joker, whatever, that guy who could do anything from play a 5 technique to cover a deep half, like that guy that is that hybrid player. That's what he saw. That's what he recruited Huey to do. And Huey played against Jim McMahon when he was at New Mexico and said, "Yeah, we ran a 3-3-5, and we would, stuff the run for on first down, and sack McMahon at 3rd and 19. He'd still get a first down." Like so. Anyway,
Athletes will be athletes, brother.
yeah. But explosive play wise, Mississippi State's defense has allowed 20 explosive plays over 5 games. And 9 of those were against Tennessee, though. So they played some bad competition. And when I watch the explosive plays and go back and try to chart those, I always try to look at trends. And like we saw last week, the trend with Auburn was they were giving up explosive plays to the slot like crazy. Well, Durkin said, "You ain't doing that this week," and that's why we ran the ball 50 times, or whatever. So with them, it's kind of a mixed bag of explosive plays. They've been hit all different ways. And one of the ways, though, the ones I've seen the most is they get hit in this 10 to 20 yard zone. And I'd always say more, almost like 15 to 20. And a screenshot will show you right there. Their corners and safeties in their cover 3 look are scared to death about getting beat deep. And they should be, because they're not the fastest dudes on the planet. And so they have been coached. You stay behind it all. Stay behind it all. And so we're teams. And let me tell you something about this screenshot. They have been hit on these 20-yard hole throws 4 or 5 times going into the Tennessee game. This is the very first drive. I think it might be the very first play of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Tennessee's went ahead and did it anyway because they'd seen it on film. Other teams had done it. And I'm going to tell you, this is the deepest their intermediate players had ever dropped I've seen on film. Usually they get to about 8 or 10 and they hammer it down. And so that's this huge window where they've been coached up here, and Tennessee still hit them on an explosive here to the guy in the middle of the field for about a 25-yard run, catch and run. So that is, and let me go back to what Marcel's elite at. Back foot rhythm hole throws. Holy cow. This is a good match for us on defense as far as what we like to do. You give Casey Concepcion that middle spot right there and let him catch it with that kind of space. That's going to be an explosive. I can almost put my money on that, even if he catches it at about 10 or 12 or whatever. That's going to be an explosive. So that's where they get hit. That intermediate zone is where they struggle. They know it too, because I'm telling you, they tried to fix it on this clip, still couldn't fix it. And anyway, that's and I really think they can. That's where we'll hit them too. Yeah.
Seth, I'm just going to tell you, I'm a defensive guy, so the first thing I saw was their defensive tackle. He's on his tiptoes, and he's straight up in the air on that screenshot. Ooh, that's ugly. Get your pants down, brother.
Yeah.
Well, what do you see from this Mississippi State offense there, boss?
If you just kind of break it down, you always put those things on my pre-thing, and you just left running backs off, which is the best part of their offense. Their quarterback is Blake Shapen. He's a Baylor transfer. He is a very efficient passer, but he's not a runner. He's not. I mean, he will run. They'll run some quarterback lead with the back, and he can be but he's not a guy that's going to have 40, 45 yards rushing. He will run on the designed runs, quarterback lead, the zone read. He'll pull it. So we need to be really good splitting from the center over. Hey, heavy flow away. Backside guy's got to hang for the quarterback. When he has any 5-step schemes, anything, and I know it's not true 5-step anymore because we're not under center, but that you can still tell the difference in a shotgun 5-step route versus a shotgun 3-step. And any 5-step scheme that he runs, he gets sacked. I mean, it's almost 100% in all their film. It's kind of crazy. Oh, it's 5-seam. Here, we're going to make this big, deep dig. It's going to be a 5-step drop. Man, he gets sacked before that ever can thing. But he's super efficient. They run a lot of the all stops. And like, if you looked at your screenshot of the Mississippi State defense, they've got 4 underneath, right, Seth? That's to eliminate those things where you take 3 receivers to a side and they all run a stop and you dump it to them, right? That's to eliminate that stuff. And that's what Mississippi State does on offense. They do that a lot, and he gets the ball out quick. When it's not even a 3-step, it's catch, turn, throw. He's very efficient. He puts it on the money. He's an accurate passer. So he can hurt us by dinking and dunking us. I am not worried about the deep ball with our corners and the way they run their offense. Their wide receiver tight end group, not a super talented group in my mind. They lot of run. Again, they're going to run those short passing routes, and they come with a lot of motion. They're going to try to confuse you with motion, and they do, more motion than Auburn showed us, and way more than Notre Dame. There is going to be a lot of motion, and that's going to mean we have to be cerebral. Okay, we're running whatever we're running. We're going to bracket this backside single receiver, and now they motion to 2. That changes everything. It changes the drop of the end. Like Cassius has to realize now he has 2 receivers. Who's he dropping off of? He's got that area. And then how do you play it if they go too vertical, things like that. We've got to be able to get those checks to get us out of those situations and get us back into normal coverages. Can we do that on their motion? Their offensive line, not great. They are just typical spread blockers. This is why a lot of high schools went to the spread. Hey, let's get the ball out quick. Let's just have our offensive linemen get in their way. There's not a heavy scheme on where they turn protections. We saw it a lot in my last few years of coaching. You just turn on the film and they don't have the athletes you have, and they just run the spread. Lots of motion, and they ask their offensive line just kind of get in the way. Their tackles are not good. Their center is the one guy that's pretty good. He's the best offensive lineman they got, and he's a pretty good blocker. It gets worse as you go out. So get ready for
So
Cassius Howe on our defensive end. I don't think we have to drop them this week. We can bring them. What were you going to say,
So
Matt?
you're telling me that it's probably not great that both those offensive tackles went out against Tennessee and they're questionable against A&M. Is that so? If they're not good, their backups probably aren't better. You wouldn't think.
If those guys were perfectly healthy, I would still be saying the same thing. So, yeah, that doesn't bode well for them. Now, the running back group is different. Their 2 running backs are good. Their 2 running backs have the ability to go, okay, these guys that are just getting in the way are getting in my way too. So I'm going to space. They run to daylight and they will bounce plays. It is with the quarterback read and the bounce of their running backs in zone. It is very imperative for our backside linebackers to play the whole. Hey, I got full flow offensive line going to my away from me. I've got to hold. I've got to step a place and hold because it might bounce backside, and I've got to be the guy that cleans that up. And so we got to be really good there, and we've got to be great tacklers. We were good tacklers against Auburn, but this is going to be a bigger challenge. So these guys break tackles, they run to space, and they're talented. They're they're SEC backs with speed. And so that's the biggest concern I have. We hold them to 150 yards, it's a blowout football game. If we hold them to 150 or less rushing.
Okay.
Seth?
All right.
I'm gonna
Seth,
say
you
like
have
their
some?
running back. Yeah, their running back reminds me of UTSA's running back. He's got the wiggle. He's got home run hitter
I don't really
ability.
want to hear that.
He's
I don't
good.
wanna
I
hear-
mean, like he is really good. And I know, like, no offense to Hugh Freeze or offense to Hugh Freeze, I don't care. Whatever. I would take Levy 9 out of 10 times when it comes to scheming up a one game. You know what I mean? Like, he may run an offense. I'm not a huge air raid guy and all that, but I will say this: that Levy is going to scheme something up, and he's going to put us in a bind. He does it every week, And if I'm him in his shoes, I'm trying to isolate York in coverage versus that running back wheel route, whatever you want to do. And that's what I think we will see York have to make a play or two against that running back in space, whether it's through the air or a tackle or whatever. Because Levy is a whiteboard guy. He's a schemer. I mean, he's going. He knows he has to. You know what I mean? He can't just go, well, we're just going to show up Saturday and feed studs and run our stuff. He can't do that. You know, like you can't do that at Mississippi State. He's going to have to figure out a way to put us in a bind. So yeah, it's a complete opposite challenge. So what I was getting around to is that it is a complete opposite challenge for the defense, in my opinion. Like you face Auburn, who does have studs, and like, but the scheme, but this team don't have studs, but the scheme, they may get you. Maybe the running back's a stud. I'll give you that, but like the scheme could get you a couple times if you don't watch out. So completely the opposite challenge.
I think you're right about the back out. They do a lot of stuff, and that's kind of been one of the thorns in our side, against Notre Dame and going into last year. And so that's a matchup to look at in the passing game, is how well. And York's been really good this last week. He was really good at matching that up. So, and Samford too. So let's make sure they do it. We'll see.
So they got us at a 14.5-point spread on this game. That's a pretty big spread.
Yes.
Not saying that we don't cover that. That just, you don't normally see that in the SEC.
I know.
2 touchdown spread. But I'm gonna say, and I guess I have the lowest score for our offense, looking at what everybody's predicting, but I'm going to say 38-21. I think we do cover the spread, and I think they hit us on a couple just because, like you said, that guy knows how to scheme some stuff up. But I think it's a comfortable win. I think it's one, maybe the first half's a little tighter than we want, but by the third quarter, we start pulling away. So, Mark, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's night. We're wearing black. Somebody said they're painting the end zones black. I think Elko's like, okay, that was a step in the right direction, defense, but you need to leave your mark, and you need to leave no doubt that we are an elite defense. And I think they do that, and I think our offense does great. I think we get turnovers. I say 42-14 Ags. I think this is the real coming out party for Texas A&M football.
Okay, Seth?
I really wanted to put 50-something, but I'm going to go with 45-24. If you remember the last time we scored 50 points, I hate to bring this up, Bobby Petrino was calling offense versus Mississippi State with Jalen Henderson at quarterback.
Jalen Henderson?
50
Wow.
points. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
But so that would be wonderful to do it again. Now, that Mississippi State program was in severe disarray at that time, if you remember. But anyway, yeah. So I think 45-24. I think we all three picked them to cover. I do think this is, when I saw the Vegas line, it made me raise my eyebrows. But then when you watch film, you're like, oh, okay, I see why Vegas did what they did.
Yeah.
What Seth? Now let me clarify this. Vegas doesn't look at film. Vegas is managing money. Like, how many people are betting on the Ags versus how many people? Mississippi people ain't betting with Vegas. They got so and so down the street, and they don't got a lot of money, so it's always going to go in our favor. Money in Mississippi, America.
It sounds like from the press conferences, Arkansas is in worse money trouble than anybody. But
True.
Anyway, my player of the game, I'm going to say it's Marcel Reed, and I don't think it's just his passing. I think you heard him in his post-game press conference. He knows that there's going to be 3 or 4 plays every game. He needs to tuck it and go, and I think he does that. So I think he gets about 40, 50 yards on the ground doing that type of thing, and add that to 250 through the air. He's going to have over 300 yards of offense and 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing is my prediction. So
let's go.
Yeah. So player of the game for you, Mark?
Yeah, this is hard. I hate doing this. I hate predictions. You know how I feel about it. And predicting a player of the game is so hard. But I'll say York, if Scooby plays or Samford plays, one of those 3 guys could have big numbers games. But lots of opportunities for picks. I think there'll be opportunities for strip sacks, especially if we can get up 2 scores on them and really put them in a throwing situation. So I'm going to say, with all that said, I'm going to go Cassius Howell, multiple sacks, and he's going to have a touchdown on a scoop and score. So how's that for a prediction?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Seth.
I do a lot of cop-outs during these picks, but I'm kind of piggyback, and I'm kind of a hybrid. I like to talk a little defense too. I'm going to pick the front. I'm going to pick the front, and I don't know who. So if I have to narrow it down to one guy, I'm going to say DJ Hicks because of the now it makes me not want to pick him because of the tackle situation. I really think you're right about that. I think those poor tackles. If we have used Hal in a lot of coverage on purpose, like Elko with the disguising, and so if this is a game where he says, yeah, we're going to let Hal go chase the quarterback a little bit more, I could see that getting real bad for them real quick. So, but I'm going to pick Hicks. That way I don't piggyback off your deal. I'm going to pick Hicks. He's that guy. I mean, that sack he got just straight whipped that center. Or was it the guard? I can't remember who. I think it was center, who's Auburn's best offensive lineman. And I was like, That is some
He
grown
was a
man
starter.
stuff that he just did right there. And so I'm gonna pick Hicks. So maybe Hicks is the one that causes the sack and Cassius scoops and scores. How about that?
There you go. There you go. All right. Well,
There we
thanks
go.
for listening. Like I said, hit subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. We sure appreciate it, and appreciate everybody listening. Want to give a shout out real quick to Miss Smith and Tyler, Texas, who sent me an email and listens to our podcast. Appreciate that. So thank you, Miss Smith. And this is Trace Amigos signing out. Thanks and gig 'em.
Get him.
Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents, talking